our goal is to make Spread Bagelry the best bagel concept in the U.S. How to get there, I think, is by controlling it as much as we possibly can and doing it the way that we want to do it. That might not happen in 5 years, right? That might happen in 25 years. But I think the best brands have that kind of trajectory where it's like slow growth, get it right, and then you can move to grow fast.
You're listening to Stories from the Top, an inside guide to better business development. We are here with Tom Selementi and Morgan Mullen, the CEO and Marketing Director for Spread Bagelry. Thank you guys both so much for coming on the show. And to start, why don't you guys give us a quick intro to who you guys are?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having us. Tom Selementi, I'm the CEO at Spread Bagelry. Been there for about a year now. And if you haven't heard of Spread Bagelry is the premier operator in the bagel space. Wood-fired bagels, the best bacon, egg, and cheese in the business. We call it the standard.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm Morgan Mullen. I'm the Director of Marketing for Spread. It was really exciting coming onto this brand because, like Tom said, it's really one of a kind, especially in the Philadelphia and New Jersey area. There's no other bagel shop that's doing wood-fired bagels, so that right there really excites me. 3 months in, and I'm just super excited to see where the brand's going to grow from here.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm a fan of Spread. I've known about it for a couple of years now. My wife works at the hospital next door, and she was like, "You've got to try everything whole wheat bagel here." I was like, "A whole wheat bagel, okay."
I threw in some for you.
I tried that thing, and it's like, you don't even need cream cheese. Just grab it and eat it. It's so good. Everything you guys make is amazing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's exciting to talk to someone whose product is amazing, not just successful. So
yeah, right, exactly.
So let's kind of start. How did you get into the role of CEO, even before Spread? I know there's a jump at some point. How did you get into management?
Yeah, it's been pretty gradual rise in the restaurant industry. I started off washing dishes in a bakery in my hometown, in a Jewish bakery that did do bagels, actually. So, and then I learned to make bagels in high school, and held every role in the restaurant business. So I worked primarily in the back of the house, which is the kitchen, for the first, let's call it 6 to 7 years. Not a chef, not a trained chef, but I can basically do any role in a kitchen and run them, but not classically trained, as they say, right? And then I moved into front of house management and worked my way up to eventually having what we call above store leadership, which is you're running multiple locations, multi-site, that sort of thing, and then progressed into executive roles. Most notably, let's say, at Carmine's, which is a family-style Italian restaurant. I was the senior vice president of operations there, and that's the busiest restaurant in New York City. So, and it has been for many years.
I've been to the one in Atlantic City. It was really good.
They do awesome there. It's the busiest restaurant in Atlantic City as well. So basically, in every city they operate in, they're one of the biggest operators, and that was a fantastic role. Worked at OTG for a while, which is in the airports. And that's where I kind of learned a lot of the logistical things about running a restaurant, where anything that comes up, we can solve it, right? When you're operating within the confines of an airport, a lot of things come up on a day-to-day basis that don't normally happen, that you have to figure out on the fly. And we're executing very high-end restaurants in a very small confined space. So you learn a lot, and you also get very confident. And that's, propelled me into some executive roles. I was with Bluestone Lane through COVID. And then most recently, before I came on to Spread, which is only about a year ago, I was president of Le Pan Quotidien and Little Bee in their U.S. businesses.
Okay. And before I jump into another CEO question, airport question.
Sure, yeah.
Does the airport tax restaurants, so they have to be really expensive, or is it just people have to pay a lot of money?
Yeah, let's say what they have at the airport is called, you have to have street pricing plus, right? So when any restaurant that's in the airport, they have to find a comp set outside of the restaurant. So this is if you're a Chick-fil-A, for example, then you have to have the same pricing as a Chick-fil-A times X amount of percent. Because, yes, the airport is taking a large percentage out for rent. So you don't want to, they don't gouge, but it is a percentage higher than the outside and always will be.
And I wanted to know, what kind of things do you see in the airport restaurants that you don't see in a typical restaurant?
So any like logistical issue from being in a confined area, right? You can't have the proper venting. A big thing that is like getting product into the airport. You know, when you walk through the airport, what do you have to do?
TSA.
You have to get through security, right? So like think about every delivery that gets into the airport has to go through security.
Run and get a bag of lettuce or something.
No, you can't, right? You can, but you have to have it go through the scanner and everything. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's if you run out, that's what you do. We would do that sometimes.
Really?
And someone would pull up to arrivals, right? And someone would run out and grab it, and then it has to get put on the thing and go through the scanner and everything.
Wow, really?
So you're just like, whereas like you and I, if we ran out at Spread, we'd run to the store and we'd be back in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's now a 2.5 hour excursion in the airport. So you just have to plan really well. You know, there's so many things that go into it. But yeah, I could talk about running restaurants in the airports for days because like everything that you can think of that comes up. You know?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of traveling, and we had like a debate about it. It's like, why is it so expensive? But same with like rest stops on the turnpike, which I guess it's just government taking their piece.
Yeah, there's that. And look, to get staff there, they have to go through security too. They have to park. Think about, where do you park when you go to the airport, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to get to the airport on time, you have to go into the parking that's very close, right? It's like $60 a day, right? So everybody else has to park very far, get on a bus. So you have to pay more to the staff in order to incentivize them to show up every day, which all leads to the price of the product that you're eating. You know? Do
you also think it's like a convenience thing plays a factor into them being able to charge more?
What they call it is a captive audience, right? Right? So it's like when the number one captive audience is in prison, right? So they can serve whatever they want to the people, to the prison mates. That is, you know, somewhat synonymous to what's going on there, except that the food is much better, but the catch is they're going to charge you much more for it. Right? So because you're captive, you're held captive in the airport. Once you get through security, you're not going back out.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, good. Well, back to Spread. Sorry for that side tangent.
Okay. That's my fault for answering so deeply.
No, that's okay. So you came on about a year ago.
Yeah.
What was Spread's decision to make that executive change?
Yeah, well, look, if there's a CEO change at the top, usually there's a good reason for it. And Spread is looking to grow. We'll move into a growth phase. And they were looking for someone that had done something like that before. They reached out to a executive search firm, and I started shopping the brand. And what I saw was similar to what you said, right? The product is awesome, right? You love the everything bagel, the whole wheat everything bagel. When I shopped the brand, I said, wow, the product is not broken here. This is something that we can get behind, and with some focus on execution, couple of other levers that we were going to pull, which was like hours of operation, slight menu expansion. Those things are going to drive the brand to get to the next level where it needs to get to.
So what is your kind of style of leadership in the CEO role?
Yeah, so look, I'm an operator by trade, right? So I like to get to the bottom of things quickly, right? Like a lot of root cause analysis. And some of the other ways that we do that is by being together, being very present, right? So my style of leadership is hold the team very close. We spend meetings together, not where everybody updates everybody on what they're doing. We try to work through problems together. We try to present maybe one problem in a meeting and say, okay, let's spend some time just working on this thing, right? And getting to a root cause and then a solution, and then who's going to own it. We call it RACI, which is like who's responsible, who's accountable. We kind of create action plans in those ways, right? So as an executive leader, that's how I work, right? Whereas the team is better together. It's not just what I say, now everybody go do it. Working together is very important, and restaurants are a very present business. The other thing is I like to be in the restaurants a lot, so I can understand what the customer journey is, what the guests are saying about Spread as a brand, and we'll talk openly and honestly about what people are saying about Spread, right? So when I came onto Spread, one of the things we heard more than anything is, I love Spread. The product is great, but it just takes too long. Right, so that's a mantra we have been repeating over and over again, and we want to solve that problem of it takes too long. Right, we're doing that, and we're pulling a lot of levers to do that, and there's a lot of things that goes into it takes too long, up to and including it might just be the guest perception, but the guest perception is reality in our business, right? So like you still have to solve the problem, right? You can't ignore it, you can't make excuses for it. You have to get deep into it and get to real solves of what the guests are telling you your issues are.
And so can you give us an idea of the size of the company when you came on and where you are expecting to go?
Yeah. So we're still generally around the size where when I came in, right? 17 locations, right? 13 up here in the Northeast in the Philadelphia area. And then we have a small contingent in the Southeast. We have Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Savannah. And then we just recently opened a location in Atlanta in a part of town called Buckhead, and we're going to continue expansion in both of those areas, right? So the idea is by end of 2028, we're about double the size, 35 locations, but still in the same areas, Northeast, Southeast.
And you guys are all not franchised, right? It's all privately owned.
Yeah, so we're going to grow this as company owned, where we can control the brand. That Spread is the same anywhere you go. The standard is the same anywhere you go. We know that we can operate these and execute them to make lots of money, so we don't need to give that to somebody else. I think a lot of other brands that want to move to franchising so quickly is because they have an end in mind, right? And the end in mind is we want to exit, we want to have this many locations, and we want to make X amount of money. Our goal is to make Spread Bagelry the best bagel concept in the U.S. How to get there, I think, is by controlling it as much as we possibly can and doing it the way that we want to do it. That might not happen in 5 years, right? That might happen in 25 years. But I think the best brands have that kind of trajectory where it's like slow growth, get it right, and then you can move to grow fast.
Yeah.
I think Wawa is kind of the gold standard of the private expansion process. Like you go to Florida, it's the exact same experience, and I can't imagine what their corporate structure is like just to manage all that. How big is your guys' corporate team? It's got to be.
It's not that big
you don't want
moment.
it to be that bloated.
It's essentially our team, like our leadership team and a few directors, right? So let's call it 8 people at the moment that are not sitting in a restaurant operating a restaurant on a day-to-day basis, and all of us still have responsibilities in restaurant as well. So like we're in this hybrid stage right now where it's not like built out levels of leadership. Everybody has to either run a restaurant or really support somebody who does run a restaurant at all times.
Really? So you're running restaurants while you're doing your corporate things?
Yeah, well, I'd say you're one of those two things, right? So like anything I do has to be in support of the people that run the restaurants, right? So you either run a restaurant or you support somebody who does. Anything Morgan is doing on the marketing side has to be in support of the goals and initiatives of the people that are working in the restaurants. And as restaurant groups and other companies grow, a lot of times that vertical just solves the problems of that vertical, right? Marketing is going to say, well, I just need more views, so I got to do this, right?
It's true.
But that's not what we're doing now. We don't talk about views, right? We talk about sales. We talk about transactions. We talk about getting more people into the restaurant, and it's still one team, one goal mentality, and we're going to keep it that way as long as we can.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have feedback coming up from the bottom, from your restaurants, which is giving you guys a direction of where, like, what problems to solve. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. The guests are going to tell you the most, right? The team, yes, at the levels that are working in the restaurant, they're going to tell you the things that are issues with the company that need to be solved, for sure. A lot of times those are going to be focused on the things that will make their life easier, which, good, we want to do that. I want to focus, at Spread, we want to focus on what is going to make the operators' lives easier, because ultimately that will lead to better execution, better guest experience, right? So like those are important, but what the guest tells you is the most important. So I spend first thing I do Monday morning, and it's painful process, but I've been doing it for years, is just read guest feedback from the week before. And you get a lot of sobering stuff, and it always knocks you down a peg or two, because by the end of the week, we're all feeling great. We've worked together. We've accomplished some initiatives. We're moving forward.
Yeah. Sales
came in over the weekend.
Yeah.
We're up, right? And this is what's going on at Spread Bagelry right now, right? We're always up in sales year over year. A lot of times that's double digit. So we can, sometimes get, what do they say? High on our own supply a little bit, right? And we got to make sure that we don't, right? And the thing that knocks you down a peg is reading what the worst guest experience was the week before.
Yeah, I think you're really big on like equilibrium. Like if something is too high, like he's gonna bring it right back down, so it's just all equal.
Yeah, and conversely, if things are low and people are feeling beaten up, which they can at times in the restaurant business, it's tough work. Let's draw on the wins that we're having so that everybody can still continue to come to work feeling extremely motivated to outperform on a day-to-day basis, right?
Exactly.
Because we're in front of guests every day. That's hard to do, right? You got to have the right mindset for that. So we focus on making sure the team is in the right mindset for that at all times.
Yeah, I love that with the feedback. Yeah, because if you guys are just satisfied, that's the death of innovation and changing things and streamlining.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
And speaking of innovation, as you guys are looking to scale, there's that whole other branch of how do we do new and interesting things on top of a bigger reach? How are you managing that side of things?
Yeah.
Staying fresh and current? Because there's a bazillion competitors in the restaurant space.
There's lots of competition for sure, right? So it's understanding that is going to help you understand that you're not going to separate yourself through product, right? Very few people are doing that, right? You got, and the few that are doing that are kind of hurting, because then you rely on it, right? So the one that comes to mind is Crumble Cookie, right? Crumble Cookie, the hottest brand forever. What was it built on? Do you guys know what it's built on? Crumble Cookie?
I think I do.
I'm familiar with the brand. I don't know.
What is it
you're
built
getting
on?
at.
A new recipe every single week.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Morgan. A new recipe every week, right? Sunday night, it hits, I think Sunday night, it hits like Instagram or whatever you want to call it. And that's the new product. And now everybody rushes out to get it. So you have to constantly be innovating. But what we focus on is execution. Different thing, right? Whatever we do, we're going to do it so well that people come back because we become reliable and consistent. Now, we can add to that by doing something cool and innovative, but doing it better than anybody else. And I think what we've done most recently is the hash brown, and that is a great example of it, right? So a few of our competitors have hash browns. When we were talking, when we came in, that's not on the podcast, but about Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A does hash browns. Chick-fil-A's hash browns are awesome. Every Chick-fil-A's hash browns?
I've never had a Chick-fil-A
the little round ones, right? They're awesome. They're hash browns, right? They're actually like probably tater tots, but when done well, they're great. But what are those? You can get those at the store. You can get a frozen patty at the store, the little round one. And our competitors, Bagels & Co. has one, and it's very similar to like the McDonald's hash brown patty, right?
I like McDonald's hash brown patty.
I love McDonald's hash brown patty. I can eat just that only for breakfast, 4 of those, no problem. But when we were going to do a hash brown, Spread is going to do a hash brown, we're wood-fired bagels, right? We're the home of the standard, the best bacon, egg, and cheese. So our hash brown has to be the best. So what we did is like shredded potatoes, and it arrives to the restaurants, and then they have to mix the batter, and then they have to press it down into a puck and sear it on the flat top on both sides. And it's a little harder to execute. It's a little harder to do, But when you taste it, you can taste the difference. And that's what's going to separate us. It's not so much the innovation, it's in the execution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't imagine being on Crumble's marketing team. You'd be like drowning.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, how difficult it must be to keep, which excites me about Spread because it's very consistent. Like, you know what the product is. It's not like we have to be too out of this world with like innovation and different menu items. But I was just thinking about how difficult it would be to advertise a different menu every single week. Oh, sorry. Like that sounds like so difficult.
You'd have to be like months ahead just to plan things. And then if production's late to get you something, then everyone's scrambling. That would be insane.
Yeah, and I feel like it's hard to plan months ahead in the restaurant industry because it's always changing, especially food trends. People, their attention span just evaporates really quickly, I think, nowadays. So
that's right.
That's an interesting thing too, is when you guys want to change stuff, do you try to work within the ingredients you guys are already sourcing, or if you have to bring something like bringing potatoes in, what's like the sourcing like for that type of?
Yeah, typically we will try our best to use what's already in what we'll call the ecosystem, right? Like, okay, what can we do with this a little bit better? But in reality, that's very hard because what it ends up being like is, I don't know, you go to like Mexican restaurants a lot, right?
Yeah, love Mexican.
Yeah, I love Mexican too. To me, it's just the same thing, just done different ways, right?
Yeah.
But it all tastes amazing. But it's great, like an enchilada, tostada, a torta, a taco, a quesadilla. It's all the same thing. It's a tortilla, it's cheese, it's meat, and then lettuce, tomato. It's just done a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And people start to notice that. It took me, 30 years to notice that's what Mexican restaurants are doing, but eventually they're going to notice it, right? So you do have to bring in some different things and different ingredients from time to time. So.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I never thought of it like that. They're just reusing the same ingredients and calling it different menu items.
Thank you.
It's the restaurant dream. Yeah, you got your sandbox of 6 ingredients.
So I wanted to know, just since you were saying that execution is really your secret sauce of how you guys are setting yourselves apart, how do you take that execution and make sure it flows through every member of your organization?
Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to do when you're talking about execution is ask yourself, how am I going to measure execution? Right. So that's a hard thing to measure. But we have a few things at Spread that help us to measure execution, and the biggest one being ticket times, because of the way that our system is set up, where it's mostly order at the counter and stay and wait till it's ready, right? So that is one of the bigger metrics there. So then it's just about how long does it take to get in from the point of sale into that person's hands. As of now, at 17 locations, the training and the transfer of knowledge is easier to corral, right? But like something that we like to do is get everybody together for, what we call lunch and learn, which is really like a train the trainer, and we'll introduce new menu items and we'll get people bought in, right? And that's to the general manager community, the folks that are running our restaurants and in charge of running our restaurants day to day. Let's get them trained properly. Let's make sure they're experts on how to do it, right? Before that, we even make sure that the leadership team is experts on how to do it. If we're going to have a new sandwich, I need to know how to make it first and ask a million questions so that we know that we're making it the easiest and best way possible, the most scalable way possible. And then we give the restaurants like a calendar with the drop dead date, and then working backwards on like what days people need to be trained and what milestones you need to hit, when to order, all of those things. And we check in regularly to ensure that we're hitting all those milestones so that on the drop dead date, we're ready to go. So that's generally how it works. It's a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, a lot of follow-up. You can plan and coordinate as much as you think is the right amount, but if you don't follow up constantly and then transfer accountability, which is like, okay, can you tell me how that went, rather than just saying, hey, make sure you get that done, Right? You see the difference there? Like, make sure you get that done. You can just say yes, and then as soon as I leave the room, you're like, screw that guy. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to go do my way, right?
Right.
But if I say, tell me how you get that done, you have to answer that question, right? And now that's kind of how you ensure that the accountability gets transferred properly.
So, moving into the future with your plan, then how far are you into your plan to expand? I think I was reading something you're looking to do 35 to 40 restaurants in the next 5 years total.
So it'll be we'll get to 35 by
it.
2028, right? So that's double the fleet. Past there, we haven't decided on what that growth plan will look like. But generally speaking, it would be double the size every 2 years is what you would try to do if you're in a high growth phase. Easier said than done, right? Because each one has to work. Every location has to be a winner. And you see out there when you drive between here and the King of Prussia Mall, where we came from, you probably see 15 shuttered restaurants or more, right? So it happens. Right, so you got to be realistic about that. We're filling the pipeline right now, and what that means is scouting locations, negotiating terms, finding the right places to put spreads that are, within our logistical confines at the moment, which is southeast and northeast, targeting the right demographics that we're targeting. And we have leases signed, and we have many LOIs out, right? Letters of intent to take the space.
Yeah, that's another thing I always think about is you don't want to cannibalize your other store's own business by getting too close. So I'm sure we can get into that too in a different episode, but just the logistics of where do we want to go next within the region still without destroying your other stores.
I think New Jersey and PA gets tricky like that because it's like the suburbs if you're outside of Philadelphia, and then you could potentially cannibalize in different specific areas if you're not careful.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, certain suburban markets will shop outside of their town, right? Whereas certain suburban markets will only shop inside of their town. So we have Newtown Square that pulls from more than just Newtown Square. People from media go there and things like that. And that's its own sub-market, right? And that's why Newtown Square is one of our busiest locations.
I love Newtown Square. It's so pretty.
So if anybody wants to learn more about Spread, how can they get in touch? Or if they have feedback they want to give you guys, what's the process?
Yeah, well, first of all, come visit us, right? We have 13 locations in the Philadelphia market. If you like bagels, I don't know too many people who don't, and you haven't tried us yet, you have to come try, right? Because a wood-fired bagel is better. And we're doing them in-house, right? So we've committed to the process of boiling the bagels and baking them off in a wood-fired oven in every spread, right? So it's not being done somewhere else and then delivered to the sites, right? So that's a big point. So please come visit us. And then there's spreadbagelry.com. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us in any of those places. But if you don't come to us first, you're not going to know enough about what we do and how we do it. Come, try a Standard. It's the best bacon, egg, and cheese in the business, and you will love it.
It is really good. I just had the Standard on a cinnamon raisin bagel, and it's actually like an interesting combination because the cinnamon raisin's like kind of sweet, and then with the bacon, it was so good. I added a hash brown too. It's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll say again as a testimonial, it's so nice being in your stores with the wood fire. Everyone's cooking. Everything smells good. It tastes good.
Yeah.
It's a home run every time. So thank you guys. We're going to have a couple other episodes coming up. We're going to talk about marketing and branding in restaurants and operational stuff. So
fun.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. Stories from the Top is your guide to successful business development. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or find Edge of Cinema on YouTube. Stories from the Top is an Edge of Cinema production, hosted by Matthew Skura and Jeremy Schmidt. To learn more or get in touch, visit edgeofcinema.com/podcast.